Hello everyone, it's Britmax and welcome to some more Tesla stuff. So it's been a week with this 2021 long range. She's a little dirty right now, but just a few things that I noticed with it. You know, are there any regrets? So far, short answer, no. Looks wise, yeah, I think it's such a good looking car. One thing it is missing though, or two things. I think the spoiler, missing that from the performance model, so I've ordered an aftermarket spoiler. I'll be chucking that on soon. And privacy glass. You can see in the back there, I think some privacy glass with the blue and the black accents it has now would be absolutely superb. But all in all, general, the car, I think it looks pretty stunning and she's going to age well. If anything, it gets better looking day by day. Now, one bone of contention with my wife, she didn't realise that it was coming with white leather. Now, I thought about this a lot, but I don't know, after reading lots of reviews, black leather is definitely the way to go for practicality, but white leather just looks absolutely stunning. I mean, I've got a kid, a little 2.5-year-old, and a dog, so maybe not the most practical, but it just looks absolutely fantastic. And I'm pretty sure they're pretty easy to clean, so absolutely no regrets there. So here we are inside the car, and this is a lovely place to be. The simplistic works really well, the white and the black, it's such a nice place to sit. Thankfully the sound system is also really good. I think you need that in a car that's not going to give you a good engine note. The interaction over here is fantastic. This is, you know, it's like a latest iPad, it's so quick to bring up all the bits. And absolutely no fuss really. So no comments to that. Before this I've been using BMW iDrive 7, which I thought was the bee's knees, but yeah, this sort of makes that sort of stuff look about 5 years old. And down here, these charge pads, I love this. Just get in, chuck your phone on the charge pad. It's great, and it's just within range for if you do want to say, "Hey Siri," it will pick it up and it will play it through the system. So yeah, inside, very impressed. And also, crucially, if you have kids, if you need to stop anywhere, being able to play Paw Patrol on demand is an absolute game changer. My daughter loves this. There's Ryder. Right, okay, let's take her out for a drive. So, before this car, I've been quite lucky. I had an Audi RS3, then a BMW M2 Competition, and then lastly an X3M Competition. All really nice, lovely cars. And for me, electric cars always seemed pretty boring. I think because of the Prius, yeah, it kind of didn't really give them a good start, did it? But then along came Tesla, and along came a real fascination. And for me, it was, as soon as the range got above 300 miles, I wasn't too fussed about pushing it on to, you know, just to try this experiment. But anyway, let's get to some instant torque. It's probably the best thing about this car. There's roll it on the throttle, oh, and there she goes. I mean, that's infectious. Seriously infectious. And this isn't even the performance model. I imagine the performance model is going to give you a huge smile, but for me the long range was probably the better compromise. I mean, if you're thinking about the performance model, you get the bigger brakes, but you don't use the brakes on this. It's sort of this one pedal driving, which makes sense as soon as you do it. The performance model gives you the spoiler, but again, you can just aftermarket order that. The lower suspension, the bigger wheels, depends what you're doing really. I think I'm going to be a lot of motorway cruising in this, so I sort of focus on comfort over anything, and it's not slow. And then, well, yeah, the 0 to 60, that's the big difference, isn't it? But if you just buy the performance upgrade for this, here in the UK, this was sort of 10 grand difference, and I can't see, unless you've got money to burn, why you would pay 10,000 purely for that 0 to 60. I mean, it's like anything. I ride a lot of bikes, and you just get used to the 0 to 60s. You get numb eventually to it. So as long as it's fast enough for your daily ride, then I don't see any problem. With the long range, I think it is the best of the bunch. Unless, yeah, you've got too much cash, so you just screw your duck. Oh, there she goes. Yeah, still a lot of fun. Compared to the German cars, The one thing this is lacking is the refinement. I think the Germans are they've nailed it down, that sort of, again, for motorway cruising, it comfy, quiet, whereas near, as you can probably hear now, there's a little bit of wind noise. Comfort's fine, suspension's fine, it's just not a German sports car, and that's pretty obvious, but it's better than most cars, so it sits between, I'd say, the average car and a German sports car, and the rest of the car just completely makes up for any lack its petrol counterparts have. I mean, when it comes to fun factor, this thing puts a big smile on my face every day when I drive it. And, well, just for the week, it's probably the first time in a while I've sort of made an excuse to go out every day and have just an hour's blast around in the car. It's just such a nice place to be and a nice thing to drive. In terms of quality, inside I've had no issues. Outside, I think there's like a couple of panel gaps, just you'd be slightly off, but I've never checked the panel gaps on a car. And honestly, I don't know, I wouldn't really check them on this either. I know there might be some, but unless they're glaring, or unless you've got a lot of wind noise inside because of said panel gap. I'm sure there's a lot of cars out there from all the other manufacturers that might have some of these panel gaps, but it's not something that you necessarily check because no one talks about it. I think it's only because Tesla had a bit of a bad start, it's just sort of become a thing that you check, but I really wouldn't worry about it at all. You know, would you miss a petrol car having this? I don't think so. I think as a daily fast car, I mean, I've got a daughter and a dog, and it's a family car, it works brilliant, yet it can still put a massive smile on my face. I do miss the engine note from a throaty sports car, but I mean, the ultimate ideal solution would be to have your Tesla as your everyday car and have on the side some sort of manual, I don't know, like a manual Lotus Lease or a manual Porsche as a Sunday car, but if you're like me and you're not made of money, then that's not really a solution. Whereas this gives you that kind of all-around fun factor, but practicality, which is quite hard to find these days. So yeah, things I would improve with this car would be some privacy glass on the back, the spoiler, which can all be done fairly cheap. A head-up display would be great. It works fine, but yeah, that'd be great. And a touch more insulation, but for me, like now I'm driving with the music off, I can hear the wind noise. Don't be able to stick the radio or music on, and because the speakers are so good, you don't notice it. It's just not got that German refinement, but it's pretty awesome. So here's a good example of the Autopilot stuck behind a lorry. Just going to flick the Autopilot in, and she's going to do all the driving for me. I'm just going to rest my hand on the bottom of the steering wheel, and if you rest it in the right place, you can still sort of relax, and it puts a slight bit of pressure on the steering wheel, I guess. But in these situations, with this lorry now creeping at 40 miles an hour up a hill, it's just nice and relaxing. Slightly easier to deal with if you're doing especially if you're doing a long commute, this sort of thing. I'm very impressed with the Autopilot. Not something I've ever really messed with. In terms of costs, yeah, this is going to be a lot cheaper to run than I anticipated, because I'm using that Octopus Go tariff. I did a little first video just messing around to see how much my commute would cost, and for 40 miles it was 50p a day, and then I think I worked out for the year it was something like £120 versus, I mean, I had the X3M, which was 20 miles per gallon, which was costing about £2,300 a year just commuting. Then you've got your personal life on top of that. Yeah, it's really cheap. As long as you top up every night within the 4-hour window, which you could probably top up a good 80 to 100 miles, then you're golden, really. It's so cheap, and couple that with no servicing costs, just some minor bits need checking every now and again. To sum up though, I think it looks brilliant. I think the inside is awesome. It's like you're in a little mini Star Trek spaceship. The interaction with the car is a game changer. Being able to use the app to do all the things you can. As I said before, changing the temperature of the car inside the interior especially on a cold day. That's going to be brilliant. And being able to just come to your car every day and it be full, it's just weird. And then that instant torque is infectious, and something that you could use every day. I think, yeah, I mean, the week I've had it, I think nearly every time I've turned the corner when it's been going slow, I've pretty much put my foot down and it's just there, it's easy to use. Yes, it lacks the sensation of an engine note, but it more than makes up with it in just the whole feeling of the thing. It's almost an attack on the old senses. So yeah, if you're thinking about switching, for me, I was very worried. Well, not very worried, but I was concerned it could be the wrong decision, but absolutely no regrets. And I would say that ultimately, fascination with this thing has turned into a bit of love. And I can see why current Tesla owners have got a bit of a reputation for being quite extreme lovers of them, because they are just brilliant. And they just makes you feel good. And yeah, it can handle a corner. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. A week in, absolutely loving the car, no regrets. Will it be the future? Who knows? Will hydrogen come? I don't know. That's why I got this on a 4-year lease, so at the end of 4 years I'll hand it back if electric cars are a thing of the past. Could still be the mini disc, and MP3 is on the way, who knows.